Welcome, everyone, to a special interview edition of Monday Match Analysis. It is the first time that we have a player on the show, something that in the future I see this becoming a part of the channel, and right now we're just easing into it. But what a start this was with Noah Rubin. Noah Rubin is a Wimbledon junior singles champion, a USTA champion, the founder of the Behind the Racket Instagram account, co-host of the podcast, The Coffee Cast, also an All-American with Wake Forest, and currently the world number 168 men's tennis player in the world. That's a long resume. Noah, thanks so much for joining us.
No, thank you for having me on.
So we're reaching you, I understand, at the Binghamton Challenger. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah, unable to play Atlanta due to just a really tough cutoff this year, but no, happy to be in Binghamton where my sister is an alumni, and it's an easy drive from my house.
That's always nice, but the weather hasn't been, right? It's been raining over there?
Yesterday was torrential, not one ball was hit outdoors, so hopefully it'll be okay today, but it cooled off the temperatures, which I can't complain about.
Yeah, that's good. This weekend was a scorcher on the entire East Coast. Let's get into unreal. I went to a Yankee game. It probably wasn't the best call.
No, definitely not. You have to stay indoors.
Yeah, I didn't get the memo. So this kind of all started pretty organically. I tweeted out that I've been well documented. My favorite player, David Ferrer. I'm trying to get over the fact that I don't get to watch him anymore. I tweeted, I'm looking for a new favorite player, and I think that you're my guy. You're David's height. You're a New Yorker like me. I think you're perfect. And then that's how this kind of started. So I've seen you on other interviews also kind of throw in David Ferrer. So are we kind of on the same wavelength with the Ferrer love?
We definitely are. I'm not sure if I can muster up the same grit as him. That's always, that's the plan, of course. But I mean, God, what a tough legacy to try to move forward with. I mean, he had an unbelievable career, but again, if there's anybody I'm going to look up to for just day in, day out effort, he's a guy.
Right, for sure. Kind of a role model in grit and doggedness, and it's something that I guess you probably need and I'm shorter than you, Noah. When you're a smaller player, you kind of have to make up for it in other areas. How do you kind of internalize the height thing? How do you look at yourself? Do you kind of come to terms with the fact that it may be a disadvantage, or do you say, hey, like, you're a really quick player around the court, you're one of the fastest guys out there? Do you kind of tell yourself, well, I get these other attributes from it?
Yeah, I mean, I think, I make jokes that, the low center of gravity helps on different surfaces, such as grass and clay. And honestly, I think my height combined with my athleticism definitely translates fairly well on all surfaces. What I have to sacrifice for that is insane effort day in, day out. I'm not going to get those quick matches with 15, plus aces. It's just not going to happen for me. So, I found love in running down and chasing tennis balls, and my body's taking the sacrifice for that. But it's something that I've dealt with for so long, and for being the average height, basically for Americans, I feel extremely small in the world of tennis. I mean, I don't know what they're eating, but again, like, you didn't get the memo for the heat. I didn't get the memo for growing. So it's something I've dealt with my whole life, and I'm used to it at this point.
Day to day, I mean, talk about kind of the body ailments, the suffering in the gym that you have to go through. I mean, what are you doing today, for example, and how does your body feel?
Yeah, body doesn't feel great. I was working on a caption for one of my Instagram pictures, and it was basically making fun of how I feel during the first few days and weeks on hard court. I mean, the body's just in so much pain when you start sliding on hard court, and you feel it, the shaking in your bones, and it's one of those really, really tough feelings. And I don't even know if the human body is meant to slide on concrete, but this is what we deal with. So, today I'll get some work done, some treatment by a physio. I'll do some of my own yoga, probably a little strength workout to get the body feeling good and ready for tomorrow. But yeah, it's most likely I'm going to be in pain when I step on the court tomorrow.
So the switch to hard court is tough. I guess you're with Rafa Nadal in that struggle, but I guess with everyone else on tour as well. Let's get into the Instagram account. Behind the racket, it's something that really, I'd say, separates you from a lot of other players. How did this come about, and why did you decide to start this Instagram account?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, it started. I had notions that I really wanted to make my mark on tennis and brand myself, but it really happened more organically than that. I mean, my friend basically came up to me and said, Noah, he plays a little bit of tennis, but he's mostly a follower of, and he's like, I can't keep listening to the same interviews. I don't want to hear about your forehand or backhand because, one, if I watch the match, I have a pretty good understanding if you played well or not. And two, I just don't care enough. I want to hear about the outside stuff. I want to know why you're doing certain things, why you feel a certain way, what is happening outside of the court that's making you act this way, and what's happening in your life. And then, once all these ideas were, flushing through my head, I started to realize that nothing like this has ever happened before. And it's insane. I was looking, as soon as I came up with the name and as soon as I was going through, there was nothing I could find in the world of tennis that was anywhere close to these ideas. And I was like, and I'm all for being the pioneer, but I was a little upset that this wasn't something that anybody has heard of before. And that's why I really wanted to make sure that I put, tremendous effort into getting this out into the public, to really making this almost a household name of sorts. And, I really wanted to bring this new level of love to the world of tennis. I wanted to break that stigma of mental health within the world of professional sports, and especially tennis, and also have players have a platform to share the story, and fans a platform to follow their story and be a part of their journey a little bit more. So that's kind of the motivation.
I really appreciate that about mental health, such an important issue. I'm not a good host though, because I didn't actually describe what the Instagram account really is. I'll give you the platform. What's your favorite behind the racket post, so I can give you a chance to kind of describe what it's all about?
Oh God, that's tough. I mean, honestly, the one I did with Tennis Sangren was a truly. I mean, they've all been extremely eye-opening, and I've been very, I want to say fortunate, even though these are really tough stories. I've been very fortunate that they've opened up to me. Tennis Sangren spoke about his father passing and what that meant to him, and the struggles that came with it. And I'm looking him in the eye, and this is the first time he's sharing a story, and he thanks me after for allowing him to share that story with me. And that's the stuff that stays with you forever. I mean, these are the things that everybody holds back, but here's somebody that was opening up to me and really telling me what was going on in their head. And I now feel the true responsibility to allow other people and players to do that as well.
There's absolutely, most definitely not enough storytelling in tennis, and I think that's kind of what you saw, and that's what you're trying to reverse.
Oh, without a doubt. I think there is almost a loss at the train of thought between the player and the fan, and the problem is the marketing is that basically, I mean, there's definitely a lot more attempts in the past couple of years, but if you're not in the top 20 in the world, you're not getting the publicity needed, and that's what I'm trying to do. So I'm trying to show the non-glamorous side of tennis as well, and show how tough it is to really make it in the sport, and giving people outside the top 100 as well an opportunity to share their story. I'm going to get guys inside, but I want the guys outside to say, this is what I'm dealing with and how it differs from somebody who's 20 in the world.
This is why people should care about me too. I want to ask,
100%.
Is this something that is a big part of the plan, life after tennis, or are we probably going to go the media route?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, and this is kind of more the superficial part of Behind the Racket. I do want Behind the Racket to become, this incredible platform to really to go through the treacherous road of mental health and how we can change it and allow people to open up. But the superficial aspect is, once I started this, I found out that it really encompasses a lot of my passions involving art, involving commentary broadcasting, involving fashion, involving marketing. There's so much that goes into it that I've always had a passion for, and now this is encompassing everything and allowing me to not only do it on my plate and within my time and with my ideas that, this is my idea, and I can see it, hopefully come to fruition, and it's really exciting, and then hopefully it keeps growing, and I see it. I don't see it ever stopping.
It's also a podcast sort of affiliated with the account called the Coffee Cast. It's co-hosted by yourself and Mike Cation, and I think a common topic on that is just life of a tennis player kind of outside the top five. Well, actually, it's really more the top 1%. So you can get as personal as you'd like with this. It's completely up to you. But if you're preparing someone for a life on tour outside, let's say, the top 150, so life largely on the Challengers Tour or whatever it be, what are the main bullet points there that you need to prepare people for that they might not realize?
I think there's now recently been an understanding that you're not making money. And I think the 2 points besides the financial aspect, one is the loneliness and two is the lack of success. And these are things that you can't prepare for. For the most part, if you're top 200 in the world, even top 300 in the world, you've been fairly successful as a junior, as a collegiate athlete, on your team, whatever it was before pros. I'm pretty certain you've had some minor, more than average success, and you've had a team around you, or you've been with friends. Now you get to the pros, you might be traveling on your own for 8 weeks at a time, and you may lose, I don't know, 60, 70% of the matches you play. I mean, these are the things that people don't understand. And no
Right.
matter the success you had as a junior, the transition to the professional tour, it's something not spoken about. And that's why I think there needs to be some kind of giving back program where pros can really talk to, whether it's high schools, colleges, academies, whatever it is, and say, this is what truly takes place on the professional tour. And I'm not deterring you away from playing professional tennis. I just think you need a little bit more of a realistic idea of what goes into trying to break through into the top 100 and beyond. And I don't think that was explicitly told to me or 99% of the other people on tour, because it seems like a shock for everybody, and it's just something we deal with. And there are definitely some upsides to, what we do for a living. We still play a sport for a living, but at the same time, it's a lonely, dark road for a lot of it.
To give the people context, Noah, you were a USTA national champion, so that's kind of the junior tennis league in the United States. You go to Wake Forest, you're the number one rated freshman. You make the national championship as a freshman, so that's a tournament with both sophomores, juniors, seniors. So, but by a lot of metrics, first of all, I mean, you're doing mostly winning, and I mean, you're really the best player, one of the best players in your generation in the country. So that's really interesting, and I haven't heard that as a response to get used to less success as part of that adjustment to the professional tour. But there's oh, you can go ahead if you have something.
No. I just want to say it's one of those difficult routes. And again, people don't understand. You go from a lot of success and a team to nothing, and you go at the top of the game of juniors playing junior Grand Slams to futures, which is like, oh God, that's a graveyard for tennis players at times, and it's just something you have to get used to. But no, keep going.
Well, what do you think financially? If what is there a solution here? I mean, we talk about it all the time, and everyone agrees. I mean, let's be real. I mean, you're number 168 in the world right now. If you're the number 168 soccer player, baseball player, hockey player, football player, without exaggeration, you're a millionaire. So, what do you think the problem is in tennis? I'm sure you've put a lot of thought into this. And are there solutions, or is this the nature of an individual sport?
So a lot of it is the nature of an individual sport. I think a lot of our problems stem from traditionalists, and believe me, and I preface everything with, I love the sport of tennis, so everything that I say, take it with a grain of salt that I'm trying to see this sport evolve and not die out, because I do see some issues that I see our sport going in the wrong direction. And it's a problem. And, I've made some mock drafts of what I see can be potentially, a better system for everybody. But it's a very tough sell, a very tough sell. But, I'm looking at World Team Tennis and I'm like, God, I talked about this on the podcast, and I've never seen so many people smile before. I've never seen fans getting so involved. I mean, this is a fairly successful year for World Team Tennis, I think. And everybody's really, really happy watching, playing, all of it. So I think we have to, one, shorten the season. The season's way too long. I think we take away probably October, November, give us an extra 2 months of vacation and preseason. And that will aid the fans to be more involved throughout the year because there's less time to watch. And it will allow that players to actually, get some rest and prepare the body for the next season. Because now, especially if you're outside the top 80 in the world, you feel like every year is just connected.
Uh-huh.
You finish your match in November, whatever, your last match. You have 1 week off for Thanksgiving, and then you do a few weeks for training, and then you're back in Australia, and it just keeps going. And you feel like you never truly have a break. And that's one of the major issues. But in my head, I think we have to produce a system that has an atmosphere, a team atmosphere, but at the same time allows you to get ATP points through team play. And then with team play throughout the year, the ATP points you accumulate will allow you to play Master 1000s and Grand Slams. And honestly, I don't know if there would be 250s and 500s in my system right now, and I believe that we could find a way to incorporate the people that get those tournaments together into the new system. But the thing is, people remember the big tournaments. We don't even really know who plays in the Masters thousands, who wins the thousands. We really only remember the Grand Slams. I mean, these are the tournaments that get the money. These are the tournaments that get the publicity. It's the Grand Slams and then maybe some of the thousands. So I do think we need shorter seasons. We need shorter matches. I think the matches are still too long. That promotes tanking because players are tired and they feel like they can give up some points. And also we need smaller things, like we need to get fans involved. We should have cheering throughout the match. We have talking. We should have more promotion. I should look like a NASCAR driver with all the stickers on my body to try to make money. We should have festivals and kids days. These are they should be after work days. They should be on weekends. Ways to get people involved and make it efficient for them to be able to promote the sport of tennis. Because right now, it's one of the toughest sports to promote, and it's the least fan-friendly sport. And I think there are ways to change it, but I don't know if the people at the top want to hear that.
Right. So it would be interesting to know. I mean, if you started from scratch and you took tennis for the sport that it is, but completely rethunk the system. I mean, to be honest with you, I wasn't expecting such a well thought out reconstruction there. So are you doing?
I actually have a Google Doc with a minor draft of how it looks with 4 leagues: North America, South America, Europe, and then Asia, Australia. And then within those 4 leagues, you have divisions, 3 divisions, and this will allow for salaries. And basically top 300 players in singles for men and women, and top 150, 200 for doubles men and women will get a salary and hopefully make a better living than they have now. And there'll be team division championships and world championships, but this will also allow them to get ATP points to play thousands and Grand Slams. And again, tough sell. It's just something I thought out of and want to put on paper, but I do think there is a need for a team competition. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
Appreciate you sharing that. I would say, would you agree that the only way something that drastic changes is if the people on top start losing money, right? Because until that happens, there's really no problem, no incentive for anything to change. I mean, the people on the bottom can they can publicize their issues, but if the people on the top are still getting rich, I don't know if anything would really change.
I agree with that
I know it's
at
pessimistic, a little
at
pessimistic.
50% level. The rest of it is, and this is nothing against anybody personally, because there's so many moving parts and so many moving people. So if anybody's listening to this, I hope you don't take it personally. But if there were dreams, true aspirations to be better, and having not looking through that small lens, seeing into the future and saying, you know what, if we do this now, yeah, maybe the money is okay for me at this moment, but if we do this now, sacrifice a year or two, God, the money can be incredible. See, I just think there is this short-sightedness and this antiquated notion that it's okay right now, so let's stay where it is. But I mean, if you look at other businesses and other entrepreneurs and all these other CEOs, you know,
They
there are
they're
people
always
that
trying to get
are
more.
fine with being content, and there's other people that want to push it forward and keep
Yeah.
seeing improvement and evolution. And I think that's our issue. Our issue is that we're stagnant right now, and we don't have enough people seeing the bigger picture.
Gotcha. Yeah. So let's slightly shift gears. But also not quite, because I want to stay kind of on the financials to a certain extent. How big of an advantage is it? So I don't know what your team looks like, but your team compared to someone in the top 25 when it comes to physios and psychologists and the kind of the entourages that they're able to bring. I'm wondering how much of an advantage is it for the players on the top, and how much does that play into the fact that a lot of the same players are winning?
100%. I mean, once Federer wakes up and gets his toes massaged by two separate people, it's there's going to be an advantage to that.
Hmm.
I'm not traveling with anybody. I can't really afford it. I have my father, that helps me out. I have an agent who helps me out, and some coaches back home every once in a while. But for the most part, I'm playing on my own. I'm doing what I can now. I used to travel with a coach, but it was really just too expensive. So I'm at a point where I'm basically doing it by myself, and that's how I'm finding my happiness and financial stability. But for the people at the top that can really do what they want, and Karen Khachanov explained that for him it takes about $400,000-$500,000
Hmm.
on a year to work with his team. I mean, that's a number that I don't even make in 2 years right now. So to he makes enough money that he can do that in a year-to-year basis, and that's why they can have that stability. Right now, there's so many moving parts for me, and I have to take care of so many things. It's a very difficult situation and makes the road to the top tough, and that's why it's so hard to break through.
Is the most important thing for you, like, is what kind of makes the difference? Is it qualifying for slams? Is that kind of when it comes to on the court success? What really makes the difference from a player around the 200s, 150s range?
I've recently, looked into deeper of what makes, the situation better for myself. And at this point, you have to put happiness first. And I think the player that's on the court, that's ready to compete every single point, for the most part, the challenger level is going to be the person that comes out on top. We're all very similar in talents and stuff, and it's the person that's going to fight every point. So that's kind of what you have to deal with. There's so many other moving parts that you have to put that to the side and say, is my body in, somewhat good shape to compete, and is my mind there and going to be there every single point? I think that's what's going to make the difference to break to the next step. Learning what system and environment you need to be in that right state of mind.
So was playing Federer at the 2017 Australian Open, was that fun?
That's an understatement. I mean, a lot of it was a little bit of a blur, but
Yeah.
it was an incredible incredible moment, to be on the court, sadly, giving up a few set points that I had in the third set, but,
Right.
to be playing against one of the best ever of all time was an incredible opportunity. And it makes me feel that, if I'm there, if I'm happy, if I'm ready to compete, I can compete with anybody in the world.
You're actually an interesting part of history in that, because Federer, I think, went into that tournament the 17 seed, and people weren't expecting much. Little did we know he was at the peak of his powers and played one of the best tournaments of his life. Did you understand that after playing him? How much in form Roger Federer was at that point?
I didn't. It took a few more matches, and I remember actually I won a challenger a couple weeks later, and I remember watching him play Nadal, and I was like, I played him a few rounds ago, and now he's going on to have an insane year, and this is when people were really starting to talk about how old he was and that he just couldn't make it back, and he's like, okay, watch me, and then he had that insane year, and to be a part of that history is pretty incredible.
Yeah, you played him closer than Nadal played him at Indian Wells. How about that?
That that is something to be said for that.
All right, so let's get before we go, let's get a quick U.S. Open prediction, just because for the fun of it, if you do that.
U.S. Open prediction. What are you looking for?
I'm looking for a champion. You can go if you want. You can do a men's champion and a women's champion.
Ooh, I really could see Serena battling again for a title. Halep was playing great tennis in the finals. I see a Serena. I could see a Coco Gauff again making an incredible run. But I'm going to choose Serena for this one. And then for men, oh God, there's a couple. It's tough to take Djokovic out of the works. I mean, tough to say that he, won't be the front runner for the title. Thinking about who else, I mean, maybe Kyrgios can make a push forward, and Anderson with the big serving day, but it should be a really exciting U.S. Open this year.
Absolutely, and I hope you are in that draw. I think we're all pulling for you. Best of luck this week in Binghamton, and probably safe to assume one of your favorite parts of the year. You're in the States, you're playing on hard courts, although it's awful on your body, we've learned. But good luck in the next couple months.
Thanks so much for having me again.
Thank you for coming on.